Hey guys, Master Studios here, how y'all doing? So in case you guys don't know, when it comes to Ninjago Crystalized, episode 17, The Coming of the Crystal King, is currently out in English, sort of, and in today's video, I am giving you guys my review of the episode. And for my overall thoughts when it comes to this episode I think is pretty similar to the season 9 episode Saving Faith. And what I mean by that is, for the most part, I think this episode is pretty good with a lot of enjoyable moments. But there are some moments during this episode that are legitimately really bad and make no sense. Or at least that's what I thought before I started to really think about some of these moments. And I realized that depending on how things actually end up going when it comes to the rest of the story, these moments could theoretically work when it comes to the story of Crystalized. So let's get into the whole situation. So the episode picks up right where episode 16 ended, with Lloyd still being captured and the Crystal King now being fully revived. And when it comes to the Crystal King, he brings up the fact that the first Ninjutsu Master, Garmadon, and the ninja all tried to fight against him and failed. And when it comes to Lloyd, he says that the idea of third time's the charm, considering the ninja fought against the Overlord twice, and yeah, that's an idea, third time's the charm. The Crystal King then shows off his powers by using his powers to give the villains their crystallized outfits and gives them the weapons of destruction now. And something that I've been saying for a while when it comes to Crystalized is that the villain interactions are genuinely amazing when it comes to the season, and once again, when it comes to this episode, it's no exception. Just seeing the different villains interact with each other with some pretty funny moments is really great, with highlights including stuff like Vangelis and Esphira arguing over who's the better villain, Pythor being happy that the nunchucks finally work, and the mechanic being happy that he gets a weapon of destruction after Mr. F ends up getting one of the shurikens. That is pretty funny overall. And Lloyd points out this whole situation, saying that, oh, you gave these guys pink outfits. Is that meant to impress me? The Crystal King then shows off his powers even more by raising the Oni Temple into the sky, causing it to, well, float in the sky. And yeah, that's definitely a pretty bad thing and everything, considering what we saw when it comes to the LegoCon trailer. And so yeah, things aren't looking good for Ninjago, and the Overlord ends up giving Lloyd a choice. Either fight alongside the Council of the Crystal King, or be destroyed. And Lloyd ends up choosing option C, which is escape and fight to live another day, and so that's what Lloyd does. He's able to get himself out of the chains, as well as also dislodge into the temple from the sky, basically just causing it to tilt a bit, and thus giving him a chance to escape, and then the council goes and chases after him, starting off with Vangelis, because he's the only one who can fly. And so then when it comes to the Crystal King, he then re-centers the temple, and the rest of the villains head out. And we get some pretty interesting moments, mainly when it comes to Harumi, with her actually being against the idea of Lloyd dying. But I don't think this is because Harumi feels bad about Lloyd. All throughout the events of the show, it's been made abundantly clear that when it comes to Harumi, she hates Lloyd. She does not like him, and she wants to do whatever she can to make him suffer and feel pain. So the idea that all of a sudden she feels bad for Lloyd, that would not make any sense, especially given what we've seen in earlier episodes of this season, mainly episodes 14 and 16. This doesn't really match up if Harumi feels bad for Lloyd. Rather, instead, what I think is actually going on when it comes to this moment is that when it comes to Harumi, she's realizing that when it comes to the Crystal King doing all this stuff, it's going to take away her ability to make Lloyd suffer. Basically, the Crystal King is going to take away her victim, and Harumi is an abuser right here. I mean, you can't really argue with the idea of Harumi being an abuser and Lloyd being her victim. And she wants to keep that control, basically, so that way she can make Lloyd suffer even more. So that's why she's against the idea. Also, at the same time, I feel like this episode basically debunks the idea that when it comes to Harumi, she's being mind-controlled by the Overlord, because with Harumi being actively against the idea of killing Lloyd, meanwhile the Crystal King is all for the idea of Lloyd being killed, why wouldn't the Crystal King just use his powers in order to make Harumi be on the idea of killing Lloyd? Instead, when it comes to Harumi, she's not like that. Which again makes me think that when it comes to Harumi, she's willingly doing all this bad and terrible stuff, and the Overlord isn't making her do all this stuff. And again, the idea that when it comes to Harumi, she wants to keep Lloyd alive to make him suffer more, that I think honestly makes a lot more sense. And if the explanation is that when it comes to Harumi, she does actually feel bad for Lloyd because she has feelings for him, Well, that's not going to make any sense given everything that we've seen throughout the events of the show, especially in this season. I mean, just take a look at episode 14, where Harumi forced Lloyd to relive the worst day of his life by literally trying to kill the original 4 ninja again and making Lloyd watch. Again, it's clear that when it comes to Harumi, she does not like Lloyd and she hates him. And so all of a sudden now she has feelings for him and just feels bad about him. That just doesn't fit at all. And so again, I think the idea that Harumi wants to keep Lloyd alive to make him suffer more, that makes a lot more sense. We then get an absolutely amazing chase scene, honestly, showing Lloyd trying to escape from the different members of the Council of the Crystal King. And honestly, the fight choreography and the animation is absolutely amazing for what we end up getting, as well as also seeing new stuff that the weapons can actually use now that they're crystallized. It's definitely something pretty cool to see. We also get a pretty cool moment towards the end of this where Lloyd and Pythor go against each other, and Pythor even comments that it seems fitting that it's him and Lloyd who go up against each other on this one-on-one thing. And honestly, yeah, that does make sense, given how much history these two characters have, going all the way back to Season 1. Again, that sort of thing's pretty cool. But the rest of the council then shows up and ruins the moment, and Pythor even points this out, saying how the other members of the council, they ruined a perfect one-on-one moment, which is hilarious, honestly. Lloyd then makes a pretty good point to the council, bringing up the fact that when it comes to the Overlord, he's gonna destroy everything and how he's probably gonna end up betraying all of them. And given the fact that when it comes to the Overlord, this is literally what he did during Season 2, he made Garmadon believe the two of them were on the same side only to backstab Garmadon and then possess him in order to continue on with his own plans. I could totally see the Crystal King doing that sort of thing, just using the Council in order to get what he wants, only to then betray them right at the end so that way he can be in total control of Ninjago. And when it comes to the Council, they are against this idea, saying that the reason why they joined was so that way they wouldn't be destroyed. But honestly, if when it comes to the Crystal King, he does end up destroying them or just betraying them at some point, yeah, honestly, I could totally see that thing happening. We then get, of all things, a reference to the pilot season, actually, which is pretty cool. Basically, we see the villains throwing the weapons of destruction at Lloyd, and Lloyd actually jumps out of the way, and when they all collide into each other, there's a massive explosion, which actually happened back during the pilot season when the ninja all had the golden weapon just touch each other at the very end. Just, again, there was an explosion. So it's pretty cool to actually see a reference all the way back to the pilot season. That's pretty cool. The villains then continue to chase after Lloyd. Meanwhile, when it comes to Crystal King, he animates his Vengestone army, so now he actually has an army, which, isn't good, and Lloyd even has to fight against one of them. We then get an interesting scene where Lloyd is on the outside of the temple, with the council having him surrounded, and Lloyd at the very edge of the temple, where his options are basically either stay there or jump off of the temple in order to try and get to safety, or potentially die. And we get another pretty interesting moment where when it comes to Harumi, she once again tries to get Lloyd to join their side. And once again, I'm thinking that when it comes to this, Harumi's only doing this so that way she can try and torture Lloyd and make him suffer more, because again, that just fits with her character. I don't think that she feels bad for Lloyd at all when it comes to this. And Lloyd says that if Harumi thinks that he's going to join their side, then she doesn't know him at all. And honestly, I do really like this moment because it just shows some more stuff of Lloyd changing ever since the events of Season 8 and just showing his character development that we've gotten ever since the Ice chapter. That is something pretty cool. We then get a moment that, I'll be honest, when I saw it for the first time, I was so mad about. And honestly, I still really don't like this moment because when it comes to Lloyd, he then grabs Harumi and just jumps off of the temple, carrying her with him for basically no reason. And I was just wondering all throughout this moment, why did Lloyd do this? But then I started to think of it, and it's possible that when it comes to this moment, this could theoretically be some more stuff when it comes to Lloyd trying to get over Harumi in some way. Just basically trying to do something in order to just basically try and distance himself from her in some way or another. So theoretically, this moment could work. But if when it comes to this moment, they're doing it instead of some kind of relationship thing between Lloyd and Harumi and having Harumi get redeemed some way, well, that's going to be super forced and unnatural given literally everything that we've seen throughout the show and how that would completely go against Harumi's character and again, just all of Lloyd's development that we've gotten ever since the Ice chapter, and it would make absolutely no sense to do it, honestly. So just, again, when it comes to this, I really hope it's a situation and where they're trying to do some more stuff with Lloyd trying to get over Harumi and move on from her, and not something setting up some kind of relationship between the two of them, because it wouldn't make any sense at all, and it would be so forced and unnatural given everything that's happened. The episode ends with the ninja in the Samurai X cave actually working on some stuff for the Ultra Combo Mech from the core line, which I have to say, it's pretty cool that they're actually referencing the core line with the Ultra Combo Mech, which is pretty cool, I think. And it's then revealed that when it comes to Lloyd, his tracker is now once again activated, and the ninja realized that the only way to actually get to Lloyd is to use the bounty, which has currently been impounded by Hound Dog McBrog. And Sensu realizes that when it comes to the ninja, they're gonna have to break the law again in order to actually go out and try and get the bounty back. But the ninja, they're all for this because, hey, they gotta save Lloyd, so basically they gotta do what they gotta do in order to help their friend. And that's where the episode comes to an end. And so, overall, when it comes to this episode, once again, this is pretty similar to the episode Saving Faith, where overall, I don't think the episode is that bad actually, but there's definitely some moments that I think that really aren't that good. When it comes to the stuff that I did like, there's stuff like the villain interactions and the comedy, which is really good, as well as also the fight scenes and the animation being really good. When it comes to the negative stuff, it's basically just things relating to Harumi. Just, again, the whole thing of her just being against killing Lloyd, and just that scene of Lloyd grabbing onto Harumi and jumping off the Oni Temple was just, again, why did he do that? But again, when it comes to those moments, they could theoretically work if they aren't setting up something with like some kind of redemption story for Harumi or her and Lloyd getting together, and these work more into the idea of Harumi remaining a villain. And when it comes to Lloyd, again, he's doing this stuff in order to just try and get over Harumi and move on from her. Just again, a continuation of his arc. So when it comes to my overall thoughts on this episode, it's really more or less going to depend on stuff we end up getting with the later episodes in this season. And I haven't seen those episodes yet, and so please don't spoil them in the comment section, both for me and also for other viewers. And we'll just have to wait and see where things end up going when it comes to this. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So tell me down below, what do you guys think? What were your guys' thoughts on this episode? And then again, just tell me down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Later, guys, this is Ninjago Master Studios, signing off.